when you guys come to investors and you make your initial presentation, this is what they see you coming in the door with. Everybody here like pasta? Italian food is good?
Yeah.
Why haven't you used this? I mean, this is brilliant, right? It's winter time now, right? Anyone have a runny nose here? Got the flu? Would you use this? Sure. Okay. Can you bring that over and give Tim to phone his head? How do you guys take trains? You've taken trains? You guys lived abroad somewhere? Can you see yourselves wearing a hat with a sign on it saying, "Wake me up when I get to my stop"?
That's for you.
Yeah, I mean, all these ideas are really great ideas. They're fantastic. But they're not necessarily that market-oriented. This is very typically what investors see you coming to present. Something that's a pipe dream, something that's wild, that probably does have some real practical applications somewhere. But the question is it a business? In Israel, we suffer from two problems. The first is that most of the people here are inventors and not entrepreneurs. You guys all come from a background where you know how to build things, you've got an idea in your head of how you can build it, what you can build, and that's why Israel's really good at getting products and building products, as opposed to American companies where they actually know how to raise money and raise lots of money. Israeli companies can buy much less and they actually build something that works. What they don't talk about is the fact that we have a startup graveyard in Israel. We have lots of startup companies that have actually built products that work and are operational, but they never make it to market. What we're going to try to talk about today a little bit is to give you an idea as to what it takes to get a product into the market, to turn it into something that people will want to use. We're going to be focused on today how we can help you turn your products into something that's marketable, something that's sellable, something that's sexy. Something that when you walk in the door to investors are going to be smiling, a little bit of drool is going to be running out of their mouth on the side, and guess what? You're not going to have to be chasing after them. They're going to be chasing after you. How would you guys like that to happen? Sound like a good idea? It's a deal. All right. Very good. What about this? How many of you guys would use something like this?
Oh, I have one of those in my garage.
Oh, dude, can you lend that to me for the weekend? Got this date and, you know. Okay, so, is this cool? It's cool. We all agree it's cool. Now, how many of you guys would honestly use this? 2 wheels.
4 wheels.
4 wheels. Huh? I didn't even put my hand up for this. And yet we can all agree that this is super cool. This is a really unique device. Is it sexy?
Yes.
Definitely sexy, right? Okay. But guess what? It's not something that we look at and we say to ourselves, I want one. We can see there's probably a niche market for it somewhere, but just not me. Now, the guy who came up with this, he said to himself, you know what? I can build a unicycle that can balance by itself. Cool. Now, it's a similar problem to what happens here in Israel. I know how to build it. I know I can do it. And guess what? This actually works. You can actually ride this. It stays balanced by itself. How cool is that? It's not a business. You should have been making bicycles. Bicycles, you can sell them for $100 out of cardboard, and you made a huge profit margin. For those of you that think you're building a product, you got a surprise. You're building a business. You're building a company. And the sooner you step away from the concept of building a product, and you start thinking of things in terms of building a business that has to make money and has to have revenue, then you start to have something in your hands. So the issue is that, well, what about if I've got a consumer product and I'm not ready to be making money yet? Rather, that's something that comes down the road. That's okay, then you have different metrics to work with, but you still have to achieve those metrics. You still have to be able to grow a user base to the point that you're going to be able to get enough users to come in the door that investors start coming after you and saying, hey, this is really hot, this is really interesting. So when you go with your new idea, your new concept, everyone starts running after VCs because VCs have the money, right? And you need money in order to build a product, right?
No, not that no.
That's why we're all here, isn't it? Okay.
Not for going to the VC.
Because guess what? VCs became much less relevant over the past 5 years. The game's changed. Today, you can build products for a lot less money than it cost you before. You can access the market for a lot less money. We're going to talk a lot about that soon. For a lot less money than it did before. Your cost of marketing materials has gone up because the bar for raising people's attention and getting people's attention has gone up tremendously. There's so much buzz out there. There's so much going on. It's so competitive to get, a piece of the mind share of the people. But building the product, that's peanuts. Today you can bootstrap a company much more easily to profitability. Not to revenue, to profitability. You've got crowdfunding for so many different types of opportunities. It doesn't work for everything, and it's not so easy to just go put something up on Kickstarter and it works. It doesn't work that way. But we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. So the first thing that you need is you need to verify the need. You need to make sure that people actually need your product. That people want it. Now, the real value at this stage of going out and pitching to VCs isn't going to them and asking them for money, because they're not going to fund you. And they're going to ask you for material, and they're going to ask you to produce documents, and they're going to ask you for this, and they're going to ask you for that. And what's the one thing that they're going to take away from you?
Control.
Time. Time. I'm not even talking about giving them money. They're going to take away your time. What's the one resource you can't get more of?
Time.
You can get more money, okay, you can get more people, you can get anything you want. You can beg, borrow, steal. You cannot get more time. The more time you waste running after the wrong investors is less time that you have to focus on your company, your product, and the steps that you need to take it in order to make it real. The one good thing about VCs is, if you start to see that drool, then you know you're onto something. Then you know that you may have hit a nerve that's actually something that's needed in the market. And what's the great thing about VCs? They get to see 10 guys just like you every single day. So they know a lot better than you do about what's going on in the market. And if when you go to them and you're asking them questions and you're talking to them and you're pitching to them, you're listening to what they have to say, and you're listening to the feedback and you're not trying to sell to them, rather you're actually trying to internalize the things that they're telling you, you're going to walk out of that meeting a hell of a lot smarter than you did when you walked in. Because you weren't walking into the meeting trying to get money going out of it. You walked into the meeting trying to get knowledge going out of it, which at this stage is far more valuable. So the first question is, how do you determine the priorities that you need when you start developing? Okay, what's the minimum viable product that you need to go to market? How do you know what resources that you have to deploy and when? The question is, how do you get the job done? How many of you guys have driven a sports car? What type of sports car are you doing?
RX-8.
RX-8, that's a great car. You?
Porsche.
Porsche, what type?
911.
911. You guys drove on a track or on the street? It doesn't have to be in Israel, so at least we don't worry.
Street.
Street.
Highway.
Highway? Okay. I drove an Audi TT in Germany on the Autobahn. 240 kilometers an hour, 4,000 kilometers. Okay? Tore up the whole country. Absolutely amazing machine. How many of you would be willing to do that with a Yugo or a Susita? When the guy built the Porsche or the RX-8, okay, when he started building it, did he start putting pieces together? No? Have you guys ever heard of JIT? Just in time? Okay. The complications in building an automobile are enormous. Putting this thing together is very, very complicated. And it's not just the pieces. You can buy a lot of these pieces from Bosch. You could assemble one of these in your backyard. But when they set out to design the car, they did design first. And they sat down and they planned what they're going to do first. They're not going to put the engine in and then decide they need to change the transmission. That's very expensive. You have to retool the whole product line. You have to redesign things from the
They
beginning.
knew people wanted cars.
Huh?
They knew people wanted cars.
They knew people wanted cars. And what type of cars did they want?
They wanted the 4,000 kilometers going.
Did they want a Susita?
They wanted that.
They wanted an Audi. And they knew that there was a market for it. They knew there was a margin for it. They knew they could produce a very expensive vehicle and still make a lot of money. And they were willing to go out there and take a risk on that production. And they got people who were willing to finance that risk. Both investors as well as creditors, as well as people who would lend them money. When you guys are starting to build a company, the first thing that most startups are trying to do is they're trying to rush to build a prototype. Let me get the prototype, let me show them what I can do. Guess what? You guys are Israeli. Most of you people are engineers. We believe you know how to do it. Okay? The difficulty in building the product isn't that hard for most of the stuff that's being done. Some of the stuff is pretty sophisticated. But most of it, you put a few things together, plug them together, you've got something that's going to roll. You don't want to drive at 240 kilometers an hour, but you've got something that works. But before you do that, you want to make sure that there's going to be people out there who are going to buy it. Even if you manage to build it, if the tree falls in the forest and nobody's around to hear about it, it didn't make any noise. Even if you manage to take all the money that you've raised, scrape together, etc., and you've got a product that actually rolls down the street, and you didn't leave money to get it out to market, you failed. You joined the startup graveyard. You have a product that works. It's real. But nobody's going to buy it because nobody knows about it. So the first thing is, who's your customer? Who do you have to talk to? We've got some enterprise guys. They've got it pretty easy, right? We've got, who are the enterprise guys in the room again? Raise your hands. What's your product? Localization for international companies to international markets. Okay. How many international companies have you talked to about your product?
5.
5. Okay. How many people in each company? 1. Anyone else? Enterprise? How many people have you talked to? How many companies?
1.
What is your product?
Simplifying complex tasks.
Simplifying complex tasks. Okay, well that's a simple one. So the first question is, you need to be able to reach out to international companies, not just here in Israel, but international companies that are sitting in other places in the world, and start a conversation with them. And that conversation isn't just about what your product is, rather it's about their needs and what they're looking for. And it's a matter of listening to them and hearing them. Decisions in companies aren't made by a single individual. They're made by groups of individuals. And speaking just to one individual inside the company, it's not enough. Consumer, who are the consumer guys? What's your company do?
Social diary.
Social diary. How many customers have you talked to?
No.
Okay. So in terms of diary, you haven't talked to anyone yet, but you should talk to women. Because women write diaries more often than guys do, right? Okay. How many women did you plan on talking to? How many will your wife let you talk to? So the idea is you're starting off with the people that are closest to you, right? Problem is you're starting off with a sample that's skewed, one direction or another. You need to get a varied sample. Who else is doing consumer? What's your idea?
Rideshare.
Rideshare. That's great. Besides talking to other people, you've got a great resource. You can look what all the other people have done on the web. Okay, you're at an advantage. Most Israeli companies.
I identified a certain problem which is not solved, in my opinion, solving this problem make it better.
Very.
Examining other platforms.
So one of the things that you might want to do is reach out to customers of the other ride-sharing companies and approach them with your problem and see if they've worked out with it, or if they've ever encountered it, and if they did, what would they be willing to do to overcome it? What's it worth to them? Getting a message across and pitching your product is not so easy. What is this word?
No.
What does it mean?
Try a different way.
Try a different way? That's very Israeli. What else does it mean?
Nobody needs it.
Huh?
Nobody needs your product.
Maybe. Or it means
Don't take no.
don't take no for an answer. When you think of something like no, okay, a salesperson hears one thing. A normal person, okay, hears something else. This is something pretty simple. And yet when you're trying to pitch the idea for your company, it's a lot more than one word. Getting the other side to understand what you mean and what you're trying to convey, it becomes a lot more complex. And think about it, a word just like no should have a very simple connotation. We have different interpretations for that same word in this room. What about a shorter word? What does this mean?
I know everything.
I know everything, right?
Nobody can be one teach me.
Could be one also. Huh? Individual. Okay? So, there's a saying in English, I is the most overused word in the English language. As entrepreneurs, we suffer from this more than the average person out on the street. Because we think we know. We think we understand. We think we know better than you. And as Israeli entrepreneurs, off the charts. Okay? And I've been here long enough that I can put myself in that same boat. Okay? When you're going and you're having these conversations with your focus groups and with the people that you're talking to, the purpose isn't to pitch your product. The purpose is to listen. Because the great thing about it is that it gets you in the door. You've had the guts and the balls or the ability to pick up the phone, call somebody you didn't know, sweet talk them for 5 minutes on the phone, get a meeting, and then pitch them. The problem that Israelis have is the second part. We come in like a railroad train over the other person when we come into the meeting, telling them everything that's wrong about their business and why we're the solution. You need to step back, listen. What does the other guy want? Maybe the other guy's going to tell you a new idea for a new company, a new direction, something he didn't think about. But it's a real problem that he has. And if you're listening, you'll pick up on it. And it might not be what you want to do, and it might not even be what you know how to do. But that doesn't mean you can't find the resources or the other people to help you accomplish that task. And at least then you're building a real business. So the other saying is, ego gets you in the door. You just need to make sure it doesn't trample the other guy as you walk on through. Has anyone here seen this yet?
No.
Here at Rockwell Automation's world headquarters, research has been proceeding to develop a line of automation products that establishes new standards for quality, technological leadership, and operating excellence. With customer success as our primary focus, work has been proceeding on the crudely conceived idea of an instrument that would not only provide inverse reactive current for use in unilateral phase detractors, but would also be capable of automatically synchronizing cardinal gram meters. Such an instrument, comprised of Dodge gears and bearings, Reliant electric motors, Allen Bradley controls, and all monitored by Rockwell software, is Rockwell Automation's Retro-Encabulator. Now basically, the only new principle involved is that instead of power being generated by the relative motion of conductors and fluxes, it's produced by the modial interaction of magnetoreluctance and capacitive diractance. The original machine had a base plate of prefamulated amulite surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing in such a way that the two spurving bearings were in a direct line with a panometric fam. The lineup consisted simply of 6 hydrocoptic Marsal vanes, so fitted to the ambifacient lunar wane shaft that side fumbling was effectively prevented. The main winding was of the normal Lotus O deltoid type placed in panendermic semi-boloid slots of the stator. Every seventh conductor being connected by a non-reversible Tremie pipe to the differential girdle spring on the up end of the gram meters. Moreover, whenever fluorescent score motion is required, it may also be employed in conjunction with a drawn reciprocation dingle arm to reduce sinusoidal depleneration. The retroencabulator has now reached a high level of development, and it's being successfully used in the operation of Milford trunnions. It's available soon wherever Rockwell Automation products are sold.
So, engineers, can you explain this to the people that aren't engineers? This is a spoof. This is a joke. Okay? It's not real. But when you come into an investor or you come to pitch to somebody and you start sounding like that with all the technical terms and all, it's like, what? Huh? You know, the guy's not going to actually say that to you because he doesn't want to look like an idiot. Let's look at something else.
I love video games, but more and more people are moving away from the television. There's a lot of focus today on the mobile and web platform. It's easier to develop games for those platforms than the television. It costs a lot of money, you have to work with established players in the space, and I've been trying to figure out how do we get them back to it. Ouya is a new game console for the television that's built on Android, open source technology. It's an inexpensive game console for gamers. All the games are free to try. Anybody that wants to develop a game for a television, we allow them the ability to do this. I've been a part of the game industry for a really long time. In the early days of gaming, you could take your Apple IIe, write your own programming, and take your game to market.
The console business as it is today is completely closed to the independent developer.
The process overhead for console development is really just too much for us.
There's a lot of hurdles for developers to get games onto the television. Developing is extremely expensive. I love the television and I want those games on the television. We wanted to make a great product. I went out to find the best people that can do it, and that's Yves Behar and the Fuse Project.
Over the years, we've worked on a lot of projects that take a certain technology and make it available to many. I mean, the $100 laptop is one, and the Jambox, for example. We like to use all the different parts of design, fuse them together, whether it's industrial design or user experience.
The most important part of this to us is the controller.
We really focus a lot on what gamers are looking for. Precise controls, tactility, right sizing. What makes Ouya different and gives it the potential of changing the gaming environment is you're able to build things right from the start. You don't have to pay outrageous amounts of money for a dev kit. You don't have to have a lot of credentials, just good ideas.
The more we have something like this open console that can break that, it's going to open it up for a new business segment for the independent developers.
Since it's Android based, we have a great 3D port of Cannibal that's on Android already. That would be really fun to see up on the TV.
We have a prototype and it works. We'll have all the game genres you love. Shooters, platformers, sports, and RPGs. We'll have games from major game publishers and indies too. We'll have a full store of games, all free to play. Minecraft is going to be on it, and Twitch TV, so you can watch StarCraft and League of Legends.
This is the perfect hybrid to have something that's inexpensive, it's open, and it comes with a fantastic controller.
It's open for hackers that want to tweak the box and make it their own. This is a big undertaking. Effectively, we're trying to disrupt an established industry. It takes a lot of guts and courage. Well, I wasn't a female, I'd say big balls. We've raised money from friends and family, but it takes more. Kickstarter is a phenomenal place where early ideas can get supported by those people that are going to want to use it. And this product will not happen without their support. And when we raise this money, it means that we have arrived, that there is a need for an open game console, and that there is support from gamers and developers alike. And you're the signal to the world that this is wanted.
How many of you guys know Ouya? Only two? You want to tell everyone how much money they raised? $8.5 million. And you guys are running after investors for how much money? Okay. The question is, did they raise $8 million before doing this?
No, but they raised 1 or 2 million.
Maybe they raised $1 million. Maybe, I don't, you know what? I can't tell you, I don't have access to their financials.
Maybe they use the Kickstarter as a selling platform.
I'm okay with that also.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that also. But I want to take a look and I want to try to dissect what they did right, in my opinion, okay, in their video and in their presentation. The first thing is, it's very, very targeted to their audience, to the gamers. They're going to look at this they're going to see it, and they're identifying emotionally with the things that are presented in this video. The things that they're talking about are things that, as developers for games, you want to hear. They're talking about the fact that you don't need to pay a license fee. It's easy, it's open source, tweaking, okay? All the things that the developer is like, oh my God, really? Okay? They bring in leaders from the industry, other players who aren't part of their company, who basically go up and put their credibility and reputations on the line by saying, yes, this is a real product, yes, I believe in it, and guess what? Those people are going to help push that product out the door, make people aware about it, and now they can reach out to more people in terms of distribution for their launch on Kickstarter. They brought in, they did a good job with the video. They spent money on this video. This video cost probably around $10,000 to $20,000 to produce. They did market research. They knew really, really well before they started making this video what are the key phrases and what are the key points that their consumers, the guys who buy their product, want to hear, and what are the emotional triggers they need to pull to get somebody to go up and pitch in and buy the product. They were really, really focused. When she spoke, what did you think about how she spoke?
She knew what she's doing, she looked like very professional woman, professional fashion.
Huh? Very animated, assertive, upbeat, okay, passionate. Maybe a little bit of a chip on her shoulder. She's kind of angry at people in the gaming industry. Maybe she's angry at Microsoft or Sony. What did they do to me? Maybe they did something wrong to her in the past. Okay. When she walks into an investor's office, the investor feels them. They feel that passion. When the investor sees this, he knows that person's a threat because this person is not going to stop until they achieve their goal, no matter what. They're in it full of. They borrowed money, they stole money, whatever they needed to do to get this video up so that they can get their product out the door and in people's hands. The people that are in the video, okay, you mentioned such a huge team, look at the offices, everything like that, right? Very impressive. Well, what do you think of these offices? Are these nice? These are nice offices. You could film here, right? In fact, they did. The guys here helped one of the companies, an Israeli company, do a Kickstarter campaign. Okay? We used these offices because their offices weren't nice enough to film. Okay? That's the great thing about working with TechLoft or another incubator that can help you. They can give you guidance. They can give you the assistance that you need. So, what do you usually do when you're preparing the materials for a startup? Most of the time, you're focused on this, right? You want to get the financials done. You want to be able to show them to investors. You want to have a case study. You want to have a value calculator. You're going to show them the money, right? That's the first thing that you do. No? What do you do when you first start? Visuals. Okay, you guys have all been through the incubators already. You're a little bit smarter. Most of the old school entrepreneurs, this is what they were doing. Today, this is what you need to be doing. How much are you working? How much are you spending on the video that you're producing? Okay? You need to have a script. You need to have a team that can film it. You need to put it together. Because what's great about a film and a video? It's a salesperson that works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They don't eat, they don't sleep, they don't drink. So you spend money once, and now you've got something that will sell on a regular basis, your idea, to anyone, anywhere, no travel expenses, no hotels, no big budgets.
No commission.
No commission! Who said that? There you go. Okay? Next, after you have some good visuals, something that tells the story for you really well, you need to have an executive summary. Product brochure, visual presentation. Only after you've done all that, you need this stuff. I don't see product demo on there, do I? I don't see it on there. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's a good question. It depends a lot on the product. Okay? But the point is, you don't need to build it first. You need to be able to show somebody what the concept is. Did they have is the Ouya ready yet? It's not ready yet. Okay? It doesn't exist. They showed a piece of wood. Yes, they did. They showed an Android controller. Yes. The Android controller, where did they get that from? Who's got an Android phone here? Okay. Same controller. A couple of ports they had to add to it, plug in. Not a big deal. Didn't cost a lot of money to do that. No special development, no special hardware, no special anything. They spent their money on this before they spent their money on building a prototype, before they spent money on building a product. First, convince me that this is going to be something that everyone's going to love and want. Afterwards, again, you're Israeli, you're engineers, we believe you can build them. Okay? You can shoot missiles out of the sky. This is a piece of cake. What's the point in terms of the order, in terms of the way in which I put the materials together? When you go into an investor and you pitch to them, that's what they're going to ask for. If you don't have all those pieces ready before you walk into an investor, when you're actually ready to ask for money, what happens? They ask you for one of these things, you don't have it, you go back and you prepare it, and then guess what? By the time you come back to him with the materials that you spent time and money on, he's not interested. There's already another guy that's hotter, sexier, more interesting, that's got his attention. He's had a family crisis, he's flying to Cuba. Who knows? Okay? But you're just not that relevant anymore. But if you would spend the time beforehand getting these materials ready, so that when you walk in the door, boom, 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 he's blown away. Because most of the other entrepreneurs who walk in his door, they don't do this. They're not there. Because what are they doing? They're coding. They're trying to build their product. They want to show that they can do it. Because it's a lot more comfortable for them. Because if they're engineers, they come from that background, they're comfortable with it. It's in their comfort zone. They know they can do this. Doing this stuff, it's not important. Somebody else can do it. I'll explain it. They'll make every excuse in the world because it's not something that's easy for them. It's easier for them to build. It's easier for them to be an inventor than it is for them to be an entrepreneur. So the idea is, this gets you in the door. This gets you in the door. Okay? This gets you in the door. These are things that you're going to use in the presentation itself. Without these things, it's going to be very difficult for you to get in the door to. You have to invest in these things before, in order that you get their attention. They agree to take a meeting with you. When you're in the meeting, you need these things. And this one today is not so important. This is actually after the meeting. So this is usually for the follow-up meeting, when they bring in the partners. I agree that you need to have good research. I agree you need to know very, very well what you're going to do. Does that mean that I need all the financials and everything ready tip-top today? Maybe not. But you need to know very well, it's the first thing I started with, what's your market, what's your margin, how much money can you make, etc. That's what you have to have before you start anything. So we talked earlier about the tree falling in the forest. How do you get people to hear about you? How do you get people to know about what you're doing? How do you get people excited about what you've got to offer? So you have to go out and make noise. You can either do it yourself, you can approach friends and family, and you can pay for it. The engineers in the room, how many years did you spend studying how to code? Anyone? How many years? 4? You didn't start coding before you went to school? You didn't start coding before you went to school? You did. Huh?
Just coding.
Coding. A few weeks. A few weeks. Okay. Just one at a time. So why would you expect all of a sudden that you're able to do these other things that we talked about earlier all by yourself? I'll just put together an executive summary on my own. I'll just put together a movie on my own. Don't you think those are disciplines that require also some type of skill, some type of knowledge in order to do it right? But yet, because of the I, because of the fact that we're entrepreneurs, we believe we can do everything ourselves, which is great. The first thing we do is, אני אעשה את זה, הכל יסתדר, נכון?
יהיה בסדר.
יהיה בסדר, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about the process. Most Israeli companies, they spend all their effort on sales, and they don't worry about the first one. Because they think they're going to build something that's so great that everyone's going to run to buy it. They spent all their effort and energy on the product, and they didn't even bother talking to the people in the market to understand, do they even want it or do they even need it? Before you write a single line of code, before you do anything, the first thing that you need to do is talk to the buyers and make sure that you're building the right thing for them. It'd be really foolish to build an Audi TT or a Ferrari or even a Susita without knowing who the proper market is and who are you addressing this particular product to. Who's going to buy it? There are a number of ways of going through a number of different types of tools that we can use, and I'm going to walk you through a few of them now to give you an idea of what's involved and how you can come up with this information. Israeli companies, whenever I meet with them, the first thing I hear is, אני צריך אנשי מכירות שיוכלו למכור. אני לא צריך אנשי שיווק שיבזבזו לי כסף. Okay? Well, what happens? How many of you guys have tried to run an engine without adding oil to it? What happened?
It died.
It died, right? Sending salespeople out to meet with customers and to talk to customers and try to convince them to buy a product without you having added the oil of marketing to the engine first means you're going to have a very, very expensive dead engine very, very, very soon. Because even the salespeople, when they go out to market, they need the right marketing materials. They need to be able to walk the person through the funnel before they go out. You need to create a website that looks great. Not just a website to put up there just so that there's a website and there's a presence. But that website needs to be the first tool when they do a search about you and they hear about your company that they go to and they say, wow, these guys are good. It's about building trust, right? Why would you put up a website that is just, WordPress or not even WordPress? Something just thrown together and that's it.
This is all about wooing VCs.
This is about wooing, first, before VCs, customers. Customers. Doesn't matter if they're consumer, if they're enterprise, I don't care.
But it's not the same message for a VC and a customer. Or maybe it is.
I would say that you're not making a website for a VC. You're making a website for a customer. The customer is what's important.
If I make a website full of promises and I have nothing to back them with,
Ouya. Did they make lots of promises?
Yeah.
Did they have anything ready? Did they raise $8 million how much? Dollars? Is that more than most of you are thinking about raising? Yes? And wait a second. They didn't actually raise that money, did they? That was revenue. They didn't give away any of their company for it. They sold product before they had a product to sell. They didn't give a VC any of their company. They got money in their pockets. They got people to pay in advance. Marketing. Okay? It was just marketing. And there have been a number of companies that have been successful. You guys mentioned Pebble earlier, right? Pebble, $10 million. And they didn't have a VC breathing down their back to do it their way or be smarter. First of all, go talk to the market. Understand what the market needs. Okay? Then throw up a website. See if you can get, 10 customers interested in pitching on your platform. Boom, 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 boom. You don't need a VC for anyone. To build what you're talking about, you can do this yourself. This is easy stuff, right? Yeah. Creating the marketing materials, creating all the other stuff that you need, that's a little more difficult. But it's not $1 million to do it. You can do that for tens of thousands of dollars. That's money that you should be able to beg, borrow, or steal from somebody else. Generate traffic. Get people to go to your website. Doesn't matter what you're selling. Get them there, collect data. Get an understanding of who your customers are. Get some feedback. Start a conversation with them. The fact that we have walls on Facebook, the fact that we can use this as a way of interacting with people and getting them in the door is fantastic. You can gain so much knowledge from people who are living all the way on the other side of the world. And they might share with you a little tidbit of information that can prove incredibly valuable. Maybe these people become customers. Maybe they become partners. But what do most Israeli companies do? We're in stealth mode. Bitachon tzadeh, nachon? Don't tell anyone what you're doing. Don't talk about it. Okay? Instead of getting up to the tallest building that you can find and shouting it out for everybody to hear. Because if you shout it out, you're going to get people who are going to tell you you're an idiot, which is very valuable feedback. And you're going to get a few people who are going to say, you know what? That just might work for me. Can you do it this way? And that's what you're looking for. How many people heard of things before Facebook? MySpace you guys heard of?
Yes. High five.
Okay. Do you guys hear of Nomad IQ? There were over 2,000 different social networks before Facebook. There's a guy who has a site called Alt Search Engines. Okay? There's also something like 2,000 different search engines. Having a great idea is worthless. It means zero. Entrepreneurs come to me with ideas every single time. They want me to sign on NDAs. They want me to do this. I tell them, guys, it's an idea. It's worthless. If it's really that great of an idea, patent. If you can't patent it, then it doesn't matter, because the minute you launch, there's going to be 30 guys who are going to copy it. How many different copies of there are of Kickstarter out there today? Do you guys know Indiegogo? Indiegogo was around before Kickstarter. They were first. What happened? They didn't execute as well. They didn't have a sexy story to sell. They didn't have as sexy a story to sell. Don't worry about someone stealing your idea. Worry about executing. And worry about executing the best you can. Or even better. If you write about it, if you talk about it, if you get out in front of people about it, guess what? You're going to reach out, you're going to target the right people and the people that you need to reach out to. One of those guys in the audience is going to be just the guy that you needed to get your message across to. And his uncle is going to be the guy that owns your company. TechLoftTalk, massive company, $1 billion, sitting in Silicon Valley. They make equipment that Intel uses to build their chips. Ken Levy is the K and the L. Okay, the TechLoftTalk. I got lucky. I was flying on a plane and got upgraded. Guess who I sat next to? Guess who got to hear me for 14 hours? Sorry, guess who got 7 senior executive VPs from TechLoftTalk to attend his next meeting when he flew out to California the next month? If you talk about it with people, and you pitch, and you pitch, and you pitch, you're going to get back feedback, you're going to get back very, very valuable information. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Social media. Social media is a way for other people to hear about your product, for you to acquire customers, for you to get people to sign up. Okay? Businesses today are using LinkedIn by creating forums to talk about their products. Businesses go into other businesses' forums to talk about their products and to pitch their products. It's a great way of getting attention. SEO, I'm sure you guys know about. Okay, it's about the more you talk about it, the more places that you write about it. Guess what? You raise up in the search results. And if you raise up in the search results about a particular issue, then when a journalist is looking for a solution to a particular problem, she happens across your name and adds it to Kickstarter and Mimuna. Okay? In other words, the smaller company, not just the big guy, because she doesn't want to be viewed, or he doesn't want to be viewed as if they're writing an article penned specifically for somebody else. And guess what? When your name appears next to Intel's name, it makes you look damn good. PPC, you always can pay for traffic. You really shouldn't be using this tool until you actually have a product to sell. One of the things that a number of Israeli startups have talked to me about is, oh, I need to get users, I need to get users. Well, if you're going to be spending money to get users, and you're not converting those users into paying customers, I don't know if that's the best way for you to use your resources. Now, it depends on the cost of acquisition. If there's a gaming company that I know who he claims, and I don't know if it's true, but this is he claims he can acquire users for 16 cents a user. You know what? Hire this guy and get him to acquire users for you, because I don't know other people who are able to do it so cheap, but if you're able to do it for that cheap, then maybe it's worth acquiring them. But if you're spending $5, $10 per user to acquire them, that might not be the wisest thing to do. But then again, if you need to get your first 100 users, It's not an unreasonable thing to do, just so that you can get feedback on your product.
Quick question.
Yes?
Microsoft is doing that. Do you think they're smart or they're buying users?
Absolutely. Microsoft can afford it. You can't. If you're spending your money on marketing in a way that's not going to bring you back long-term revenue, in other words, you're spending money on advertising and not on PR, something that you can turn around and you can show after the fact. A movie, you can turn around and show after the fact. These are assets that you're actually acquiring for yourself. Versus advertising, which is something that's one shot, it's gone. You're not going to see it again. You're not going to be able to show it to anyone else ever again. I don't know if that's necessarily a good investment of your money. One is building assets for the company, and the other is something that's, it's something that you need to use, but they're bullets. You shoot them and they're gone. You can't reuse them. It's not like you're buying a gun where you can add more bullets. So converting traffic, okay? Doing conversion, you guys know A/B testing about product, right? A/B testing is also something you use in marketing. You create multiple versions of an ad. You create multiple versions of a movie. You create multiple versions of everything because guess what? As smart as I am, I don't know everything. You have multiple versions and you test them with the market and you see which converts better. And not only which converts better, but which converts better with whom. Because guess what you're going to find? You're going to find that women like one ad better than men. And men like another ad better than women. And then you get to be smarter in terms of what you're serving up when. You know who your buyer is, you know who your user is, you know who your target market is, you know who you're sending it out to, and then you can get better. Now, in the back, you mentioned that you had spoken to one customer inside an organization, right? 5 customers, 1 customer in each organization, right? But as I said earlier, it's not one person who makes a decision. There's a CFO, there's a CIO, there's a CTO, there's a CMO. Each one of these guys is going to need a different set of materials being placed in front of them so that when they get it, they say, oh, he understands my pain. He understands my problem. And the chief marketing officer and the chief financial officer, believe me, they have very, very, very different concepts as to what that pain is. If you've been able to build this right, you have a good marketing funnel that's bringing in the right leads into your sales department, then guess what you have? Instead of having cold leads where you've got sales guys picking up the phones and calling people who don't know who they are, who are too busy to talk to them, and don't know what they want from their lives, you get guys who are calling you. And they say, hey, I heard about what you're doing. It sounds really interesting. And you get leads, and now you can get to a salesperson, and the salesperson can turn around and follow up on those leads, and guess what? He's happy. He's making his quotas, he's making his bonuses, okay? Or he's just checking the box and filling in his credit card details. Because he already understands what he needs to do. He already trusts you. He already believes that your solution is going to work for him. Once you start this process, you have to constantly reiterate and improve the machine. Improve the process as you go through the pipeline. These are all the different pieces of the puzzle. In each one of them, some is going to work a little better, some is going to work a little bit worse. It depends on what your business is. Beta sites, getting that first customer. How many of you guys have gotten a beta customer already? How much does it cost for you to acquire? Did that first customer cover the cost of all your investment? So getting a beta customer, except in this guy's case, is usually far more expensive than what you're going to make from the customer. And that's perfectly reasonable, it's perfectly okay. Because once you have a customer, you're not going to find other customers who are going to buy the same solution, the same product. Many Israeli companies, they're building their first product, and they're trying to get the customer to pay for all of it. That doesn't necessarily work. It works if you are part of a shop that designs software custom tailored for a particular customer. You've worked as an outsourcing company. And when you're building a product for the mass market can't afford to pay the price that you might be asking. So you have to realize that you might be selling this at a very, very big loss initially. But down the road, you're going to make money. And the question is your market big enough? And is it worthwhile for you to invest in this to begin with? But the value of getting that beta customer, can you tell us? You can show them that the product really works. And they can call them up on the phone.
Business case.
You've got a business case. You've got a value calculator. You've got everything that you need in order to go and start marketing to other people. But generally speaking, you have to have some type of marketing materials in order to get someone to buy your product. They're going to take those materials if it's a business customer and pass them around inside the organization to get everyone else's buy-in on your product. Now, if it was a local customer, you might be able to do it. You got a that works here. It doesn't work outside of Israel. And in many cases, an Israeli customer may or may not be what you need in order to get credibility outside. Most of the time, they're going to need to see it in English. They're going to need to see a local partner they can go. Israel's difficult for people to travel to. They don't necessarily want to come here to see it working, etc., etc., etc. Because when I can show an investor that I've got people who are downloading the products and want to buy my product, that's something the investor looks at and says, oh, I would invest in marketing, because you're going to build a GUI based on what you think. Maybe what you need to do is build a GUI on what the customers think, and get their input, and get their feedback, and ask them, what would you like to see? They're a customer already. They're going to talk to you. Okay? They understand that they've got pain, and they think that you might be the solution. One of the things you need to think about when you talk about selling to big organizations is that it's not just that you have different people in terms of titles. You have different individuals within the organization you need to sell to. You've got the users of the product who actually, if you're talking about a CRM, for instance, who are the guys who use a CRM? Anyone? Support. Okay. Who else uses CRM? Sales, marketing. Okay. Who are the guys that are the other people that use the CRM? Maybe. But the VP of marketing, the VP sales, the VP support, they need to be able to look in at the product. They have very, very different perspectives as to what they want out of the product. The user, the guy in support, wants it just to be fast. He doesn't want to spend time writing out reports. The sales guys, they don't even want to fill out the damn CRM. Okay? But the guy, the VP on either side, he wants dashboards. He wants to be able to look at the product and understand who's using it, how are they using it, what are the problems that are arising, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What are the regions do we have no sales in? So when you're talking to people in different people in the organization, it's not just different hats horizontally, but even vertically. They have different needs. When you're hiring a salesperson, what are the things that you need to look for? I'll tell you what I do. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for a guy who's excited. I'm looking for a guy who's hungry. I'm looking for a guy who's going to bust their ass. If any of the rooms like that, come see me afterwards for a job. I'm looking for a guy that I can train to know what's important. We talked about the funnel. We showed you the marketing funnel, right? Sales, if you're going out to speak with players that are out in the industry, sales also has a funnel. You've got lead generation, which is not that difficult. You've got closing, which is. You need to have a senior guy, generally speaking, and these are all generalizations, but a senior guy who's going to close your deals. Who's going to know how to focus his time to make sure that he gets the client at the right time. If you've got a senior guy who's doing cold calls and picking up the phone and reaching out to people, or doing all the other things that are related to sales, you're not using his time effectively. And it's going to cost you a tremendous amount of money that could have been spent smarter, differently. You don't want to do sales, then find an expert who does. Find a partner. Hire someone. Again, it depends on what your product is. Maybe you don't need sales. Maybe you have a great website that somebody goes through the whole process without ever talking to a salesperson. Maybe you've got a video that does the sales for you. That's great. Then all you need is just someone to answer the phone and fill in details of a credit card and he's done. It depends on what you're selling. I talked about passion. Okay? The next thing I want is on people that are results driven. That are looking to achieve something. How many of you guys want to hire salespeople that work only on commission? Raise your hands. It doesn't work. Because a good salesperson are not stupid. You've got a new product in an untested market. It's an untested product in an untested market. Why would I take and risk my time and my energy trying to sell your product? You're not Apple. Apple spends billions of dollars marketing their products. So I know if I have an iPhone sitting on my shelf, I'm going to sell it. Because the guy walked into my store, and that's what he wants. All the work was already done for me. If you've got a new product that you're bringing to market, and you think you're going to get a salesperson to sell for you based on commission only, you know what they say about FFF? You're one of them. Okay? I'm not saying which one. So you're going to have to pay him something. You're going to have to give him something to show that you believe in your product and that it's going to work. The next is, as he said, I want somebody who's self-management. I want somebody who I can train him Once I trained him, he can hit the ground running, and he can do it on his own. I don't want to babysit him. I don't want to micromanage him. I want him to be excited. I want him to have commissions that are big enough that he's running hard because he wants to make the money. That brings me to the last one, is you want guys that are honest. In my opinion, the best salespeople are actually honest. Okay? In Israel, you're definitely going to find a lot of people who are in sales who are in it for a quick buck. Okay? And they think they can do it quickly. Generally, they burn out very, very fast because they lose credibility and nobody wants to work. Cold calling. Cold calling is where I have a sales guy and I tell him I need to get HP as a customer. I need to get IBM as customers. And so he starts picking up the phone, he starts calling HP and IBM to get them interested in my product. When you make a cold call and you're trying to reach out to a customer, once I've actually got the name of the right person, I actually know who the right person is inside the organization I need to talk to, you're talking about between 7 and 10 calls to get him on the phone. That's persistent. That's not easy. And most of the time, if you're the guy who's running the company, you don't have time to do this. And in fact, you probably shouldn't be the person doing this to begin with. There should probably be somebody else. There's other problems, there's other things you need to deal with. Best days to make contact. What happens? Monday morning, really bad day. Too much going on, right? Just rolled in, hangover after the weekend. Tuesday, I start getting my work done. I really don't want to talk to you. I got all the meetings anyways. Wednesday, Thursday, okay, a little bit more time, got everything out of the way. Everyone's yelled at me already. Friday, dude, I'm not in the office. I'm already thinking about skiing and Aspen. Best time during the day. Early in the morning, late at night. During the day, exactly, before the first meeting. Before he actually started his day, and afterwards. One of my guys who actually turned out to become one of my best employees. He would roll into the office every day at around 11 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon. We work at the UK market. Red Bull in his back pocket. He would drink the Red Bull during the day, busted his ass for the first few hours during the day, and at the end of the day, he'd always be like, "Dude, I'm tired. You know, can I head out?" We're talking about 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I'd be like, "Dude, put in another hour." After the first month, he didn't ask anymore because he saw in that last hour, he was getting more done than he was during the entire day. That's how important timing is. Get them while they're hot. You get an inbound lead that comes in from somewhere, you need to follow it up right away. That can't wait. It gets cold because guess what? Today, he clicks onto another website, he talks to another salesperson, you're gone. Game over. The other guy's already got a purchase order in front of him, and he's going to move forward with it. Persistence. It takes a lot of time to get through these people. It takes a lot of time to get through and actually close a deal. If you're persistent, if you keep going, chances of success go way up. If you've done more than 7 times, if you talk to a customer more than 2 or 3 times, you know, then you're being foolish. How much should salespeople make? What motivates a salesperson? How much money they're making. You hired a guy, you're paying him more than you're taking home yourself. Not bad, because that means he's bringing in more money to your organization. You're not going to get a good salesperson to work for you for 4,000, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 shekels. You're wasting the money. In order to get this, trust, which is what we talked about in terms of building up and developing, is based on this: being reliable and being able to provide a delightful experience in terms of whatever it is that you're selling. If you do these 2 things, people will believe you. If you can provide a guarantee, take it, it's free, or your money back, whatever. You give people the opportunity to try a product, to understand it, to trust you, and then go forward. VCs, if they see other VCs chasing after you, if they see the hype that you've generated in the market, this is what happens. They want to get to you first. It makes it a lot easier for you to sell if they're chasing after you than if you're chasing after them. If you've invested in the right marketing materials and you've put together a good enough pitch, and you've got PR out there, you've got customers, etc., believe me, they're going to come find you. You guys know this site? The Funded. Okay? This is the secret tool for every entrepreneur. Before you go meeting with investors, especially VCs, you need to check this out. As founders of a company, you have the right to register to this site. And when you register to this site, you're going to find out a lot of things that are going to save you a tremendous amount of time. About which VCs are worth spending your time on and which VCs are not. You have a scale of 1 to 5 that you're looking at. If it's a VC that has a rating of 3 or below, do not waste your time unless you're just looking for feedback. Don't think you're going to get money from it. So when you're doing your initial pitch and you're trying to get feedback and you're trying to learn about the market, go to the guys who have a 1 next to them, or a 2. Go to them to get feedback about the market. They've met lots of companies. They're going to throw valuable knowledge your way. Do not prepare any materials for them. Do not waste any time with them because they are wasting your time. The guys that have a 4 and up, or a 3.5 and up, don't even go to them in the beginning. Do not talk to them until you've already passed through 3, 4, 5, or 10 of the bad guys. The guys who waste your time. Because by then you will have polished your pitch, you'll be better, so that when you walk in the door and you're pitching to the good guys, they're going to take you seriously. They ask you to prepare something, it means you didn't listen before because you didn't have it ready. Before you walk into the guys that have a 3.5, 4 and up, make sure you prepared your materials. Have everything ready for them so that when they're hot on you, you can deliver. This is me. You guys can contact me over here if you need to. Thank you guys very much for your time. I appreciate it.